Subjunctive, subjunctive, subjunctive. Well, here we are. Congrats, we have arrived at the final boss of the Spanish language, el subjuntivo. Let's look at these two sentences. Sé que estás enfermo and espero que estés enfermo. The first sentence is just stating a fact, but the second one, it kinda makes you look like a psychopath. Welcome to the subjunctive. You've heard that subjunctive is hard, and well, it is, but not necessarily because it's difficult to use correctly. The hardest part is to know when to use it. Once you do know when to use it, it's just a matter of applying the correct verb conjugation. I'm not saying it's gonna be easy, I'm just saying that you're not as stupid as you think. So the plan is to make 4 videos where I will guide you through every aspect of Spanish subjunctive. This is a hard topic, so we'll take things slow, and I will do my best to make it worth your time. In this video, we'll discuss what subjunctive is and when to use it. This is the first step, a base that will help you see when we should use it and how different it is from other Spanish moods. Don't forget to download a free PDF and take the quiz for additional practice. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1. The Big Picture, Reality and Fantasy. I've just mentioned the concept of a Spanish mood. I'm not being dramatic here, this is an actual grammar terminology. When we talk about a mood, we refer to the attitude, tone and perception that we might feel towards a certain situation. In Spanish language, there are 3 such moods: indicative, imperative and subjunctive. Indicative mood is used to describe facts and reality. We use this mood when we know what we're talking about. Marcos come mucho. Imperative mood is used for commands. This is when we tell someone to do something. Marcos, come más, cabrón. Finally, we use subjunctive mood to describe feelings, wishes and doubts. This is something that we do not know for certain. Espero que Marcos coma más. In the first sentence, we describe reality. What's important is that it's our perception of reality. Even though we might be wrong and Marcos doesn't actually eat that much, in this moment we are certain that what we are saying is true, that is, the fact that Marcos needs an intervention. In the second sentence, we give Marcos a command. It can be a positive command, such as Marcos, eat more. Or it can be negative, such as Marcos, don't eat more, or Marcos, stop eating, you filthy animal. In the last sentence, we express the wish that Marcos eats more. We do not know for certain if he's eating enough, we just hope he is. Now that we've been introduced to all 3 Spanish moods, I'm happy to announce that we can kiss the imperative mood goodbye, as we won't be needing it for the series. In order to learn subjunctive, we'll have to learn to juggle between indicative and subjunctive, that is between the reality and the wish, certainty and uncertainty. Let's look at another set of examples just to make sure we have a better idea what's reality and what's a wish. Juan es inteligente, and espera que Juan sea inteligente. See the difference? Both sentences describe Juan being intelligent, but in the first sentence we know for sure, at least until we're proven wrong. And in the second sentence we only express the hope that Juan is intelligent, we don't know for sure. The subjunctive doesn't describe reality, it only describes our feelings towards reality or what we want reality to be. Think of it as our subjective reality, if that helps. Hey, I've got 2 sentences for you. Quiero que vengas mañana and sé que vienes mañana. Can you tell me which sentence represents indicative mood, that is, facts and reality, and which one is subjunctive, wishes and feelings? In the first sentence, we are describing a wish, a desire for you to come tomorrow. This is what I want, but I don't know for sure if it's gonna happen. This uncertainty tells us that we have subjunctive here. In the second sentence, we're expressing certainty. We know you're coming tomorrow. Whether you're actually gonna show up is irrelevant. Right now, this is what we believe. At the moment, this is our perceived truth, our fact, which makes it an indicative mood. Not too bad, hey? Now, you've probably noticed that in the subjunctive mood, the verbs look a bit different than in the indicative, right? This is one of the challenges when it comes to learning subjunctive. You will have to learn an additional set of conjugations, which is crazy, I know. There's too many already for the indicative, am I right? But I implore you not to worry about the new conjugations yet. Too many teachers throw conjugations at you first while trying to explain when to use them at the same time. This is the bullshit that overwhelmed you in the first place, right? There's no point in spending hours learning subjunctive conjugations if you can't recognize the situations where to apply them correctly. Do not worry though, the video number 4 will be dedicated entirely to the conjugations, so we'll get plenty of practice. Now, let's continue. Chapter 2. The 2-subject structure. In most cases, when we talk about how subjunctive sentences are structured, we're describing something that looks like this. Yo espero que ella estudie. What we have here is 3 things. 2 subjects, yo and ella, 2 verbs, espero, estudie, all connected by the conjunction que. The idea is that the subject number 1 is expressing their thoughts or feelings about subject number 2's actions. The conjunction que is super important here because it separates the main clause from the subordinate clause. In the current example, we have me hoping on the left side acting as a main clause, and on the right side we have her studying, which is our subordinate clause. What's important to note here is that the main clause verb is always using the indicative mood, and the verb in subordinate clause is represented in subjunctive mood. This is why it's important to know the difference between the Spanish moods. In most cases, in order to form subjunctive, you will have to use both indicative and subjunctive. So in our current example, we have espero in the indicative mood and estudie in subjunctive. As you can see, I added pronouns yo and ella so that it's easier to see the difference, but please keep in mind that you have to recognize the subjunctive structures even when they look like this. Espero que estudie. Nothing changed, we still have two subjects and two verbs connected by que. Now let's look at more examples to get a better idea of what's going on. Mis padres quieren que yo trabaje más. First, we need to identify whether we have subjunctive here. We have my parents wanting something, that's one subject and one verb. Then we have me working more, that's one more subject and one more verb. And in the middle we have the conjunction que. What we have in total is two subjects, two verbs, both separated by que. I think it's safe to say that we've got another case of subjunctive in front of us. Whoever wants or desires something is considered to be the main clause, therefore it requires us to use the indicative mood. Here it's mis padres quieren. Looks good to me. Then we have to look at the subordinate clause and make sure it's using the subjunctive mood. What we have is yo trabaje más. Trabaje with e at the end is the present subjunctive form of the verb trabajar. In the normal indicative mood it will be trabaja with a. The fact that it's trabaje and not trabaja means that the subjunctive conjugation was applied correctly. But don't worry about conjugations yet. For now, just know this. If the conjugation looks weird or unfamiliar to you, it's probably subjunctive. One more example. Me alegra que ustedes estén bien. Let's speed up this time. Me alegra is on the left side of the que, expressing feelings of happiness. That's our main clause. And on the right side we have them being okay as the subordinate clause, which gives us a total of two subjects, me and them, and two verbs, alegrar and estar, both separated by que. Alegra is used in the indicative mood, and estén is the present subjunctive form of the verb estar. Now let's see if I'm making any sense. Just like before, I will give you two sentences and I want you to tell me which one is indicative and Just like before, I will give you two sentences and I want you to tell me which one is indicative and which one is subjunctive. Tuve un día excelente and espero que tengas un excelente día. Once you identify which one is subjunctive, I want you to explain, not to me, but to yourself, what makes this subjunctive sentence, well, subjunctive. The same exact way we were doing in this chapter. Pause the video if you want to. Alright, time's up. So what do we have here? The first sentence only has one subject, yo, and one verb, tener. It's not expressing any feelings or desires, just facts, so by definition it cannot be subjunctive. It's a normal indicative mood. However, in the second sentence we express uncertainty by having the whole package. Two subjects, two verbs, and the conjunction que between them. The verb esperar is conjugated in a normal indicative way. And if tengas looks weird to you, that's actually a good sign. It means you are recognizing subjunctive conjugation. It comes from the verb tener, which of course is a fucking exception. This is the reason why we don't worry about conjugations yet. You would also have to worry about exceptions, like the verbs tener, ser, and estar. Now let's continue. Chapter 3. When not to use subjunctive. In this chapter I want to clarify something important about the whole two subjects, two verbs thing. We've already discussed the grammatical structures for both indicative and subjunctive moods. We've also discussed that the indicative mood represents facts and reality, and the subjunctive is responsible for desires and feelings, the uncertainty. Now I give you this sentence and I want you to tell me what you see. Yo quiero ir. Here we have one subject, two verbs, no conjunction que to separate main and subordinate clauses, so it cannot be subjunctive, right? But wait, what about the verb querer? Doesn't it express the desire for something? Maybe it is subjunctive after all. No, it's fucking not. Your initial instincts were fine. What we have here is one subject having two actions, wanting and going. In cases like this, first verb should be conjugated in the indicative mood and the second verb should take the basic infinitive form, in our case ir, to go. We can't use subjunctive here because the desire is directed at yourself. Same subject doing both actions. Now look at this. Yo quiero que tú vayas. Here we have two subjects. Both subjects have their verbs and the subject number one is directing their wish or desire on another subject number two, perfectly representing main and subordinate clauses. This is what makes it subjunctive. Let's look at more examples. Necesito estudiar. Again, even though necesito expresses a need, in this sentence we have one person doing both actions, which means it cannot be subjunctive. The second verb has to take the basic infinitive form, in our case estudiar. Now let's compare it with this. Necesito que tú estudies. Two subjects, yo and tú. Two actions, necesito estudies. And the conjunction que between them. Subject number 1 directs their need for the subject number 2 to study, and the second subject's verb is conjugated in the present subjunctive form. Yeah, looks like subjunctive to me. Remember, when two different people do two different things, that's subjunctive. And when one person is doing two actions, that's infinitive. This is the rule. Test time. Here are two sentences in English for you. I hope you arrive early, and I'm hoping to arrive early. Very similar sentences. Can you tell me which one is just one person doing two things and which one is subjunctive? Do not worry about translating anything. 3, 2, 1. The first sentence is subjunctive because we have me hoping that you arrive early. In Spanish that would be espero que llegues temprano. And the second sentence, we have one person doing both, hoping and arriving. There's no one else to direct our hopes to but us. It's just us. I'm all alone. That's why we can't use subjunctive here. Here's how it would look in Spanish. Espero llegar temprano. Good job. Like I said before, it's important to know when to use subjunctive, but it's also equally important to recognize when not to use it. Chapter 4. Present subjunctive forms. The basics. Alright, now that you know when to use subjunctive, let me quickly show you the basic present subjunctive conjugations, and trust me, this is way easier than you think. Even though I told you that we're not gonna dive deep into conjugations until the video number 4, there are still simple basic subjunctive verb forms that you can start practicing right now without having to worry about memorizing all the exceptions. In this video we've only been talking about the present subjunctive tense, because it's both easier to understand and easier to, well, conjugate. Now let's see what's up. Let's take three verbs: hablar, to talk, comer, to eat, and vivir, to live. As you know, I hope, the verbs in Spanish can only have three endings: AR, ER, and IR, as illustrated with these three verbs. Here are their conjugation tables for a normal indicative present tense. None of that should be new to you if you've been learning Spanish for longer than 2 weeks. Now, in order to form a present subjunctive tense, all you have to do is to switch the endings. That is, number 1, AR verbs take ER endings, and number 2, ER and IR verbs take AR endings. For example, the verb hablar, an AR verb, steals ER ending and becomes yo hablo, yo hable, tú hablas, tú hables, él, ella, usted habla, él, ella, usted hable. Same goes for comer and vivir. Yo como, yo coma, tú comes, tú comas, él, ella, usted come, él, ella, usted coma. Yo vivo, yo viva, tú vives, tú vivas, él, ella, usted vive, él, ella, usted viva. Not too hard, right? Now let's practice a bit. Yo quiero que tú hables español. First of all, I hope you can easily see that this sentence has the subjunctive structure, so I won't go over all the details. Only the verbs. The verb querer, to want, is conjugated in a normal present indicative form, because it's a main clause that expresses a wish or desire. But what do we have in our subordinate clause? We know that under normal circumstances the verb hablar would be conjugated as hablas, with as in the end. But since we know that the subordinate clauses have to have subjunctive conjugation and the verb hablar is AR verb, then all we have to do is switch the endings as if it were ER verb. So instead of saying tú hablas español, we say tú hables español. Get it? Next example. Espero que ella coma bien. You see how the verb comer would usually be come in present indicative form. You know that comma with a at the end looks weird, but now you can explain why it looks weird. Comer is an ER verb that has to steal AR verb ending when used in the present subjunctive tense. The last example. Necesito que ustedes vivan aquí. Vivir is an IR verb that, just like ER verbs, has to steal AR verbs endings. That's why it's not ustedes viven aquí, it's ustedes vivan aquí. There's many more things to worry about when it comes to subjunctive conjugations, but this should be good enough for today. Like I said, we'll cover them in much more detail in the future videos. Alright, now let's do a quick recap of everything we've covered in this video. In chapter 1, we learned that the Spanish language has three moods: indicative, subjunctive, and imperative. In order to learn the subjunctive mood, we only need to worry about indicative and subjunctive moods, as they work together to create the subjunctive structure. In chapter 2, we talked about when to use subjunctive and how to create the subjunctive structure. The rule is this. We need to have two subjects, two verbs, and the conjunction que between them. The first subject should express a need or desire or a wish from the second subject's actions. The first subject's verb has to be conjugated in the indicative form, and the second subject's verb has to be in the subjunctive form. Chapter 3 was all about when not to use subjunctive, specifically when there's only one subject doing multiple actions. Since the subject is only directing their needs to themselves, the first verb has to be conjugated in the indicative form and the second should take the infinitive. There's no subjunctive here. Lastly, in Chapter 4 we covered the basic conjugations for the present subjunctive tense. All we need to do is to switch the verbs' endings. AR verbs take ER endings and ER and IR verbs take AR endings. This is as simple as it can be without me overwhelming you for now. We'll cover more soon. Oof. That's it for today. 3 more videos to go and we're gonna crush this thing together. Thank you for watching. This has been the introduction into subjunctive in Spanish. In this video we were only using simpler verbs such as necesitar, querer and esperar to trigger the subjunctive. But unfortunately there's many more verbs and phrases that will force us to use subjunctive. This will be the focus of the next video that you will be able to find right here once it's available. For now though, download PDF and take the quiz. You're gonna need that extra practice because the video number 2 is where things is actually gonna get spicy. Like and subscribe if you're not cabron. See ya!